Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is Horror on the Orient Express, and this is episode 60. I'm your game master, and Jeff Wilkins will be giving us the recap. The investigators are in Orient, Serbia. The players are ready. Let's begin our journey into the darkness. Jeff.
Thanks, Tom. We find ourselves in a small basement office looking to get some paperwork needed to transport artwork out of Belgrade. We notice that the man behind the desk has two different colors of skin on his face. We suspect that he might be one of the brothers of the skinless cult. We're cautious, but other than an odd phone call where we only hear half the conversation, he seems to act normal. We leave the office and decide to have lunch and then go to our meeting with Dr. Todorovic at the museum. Todorovic tells us the name and location of his contact, who might know more about the Sedevkar statue that we're in search of. His name is Father, you might have to help me this time, Vladimir Filipovich, an Orthodox priest, and he lives in a small village named Orient. He provides us with a letter of introduction, and we decide to head out in search of this town the next morning. We stop at the library first to do some basic research on Orient. We learn some general history, and at one time during the Roman era, we learned the area was known for holding pagan celebrations. We also took some time to hire a few of the local kids to make an attempt to spy on or track the man who we suspected was part of the skinless cult. We asked the kid who Rupert had hired as our translator to simply follow him and then report back to us as to where he went at the end of the day. Sadly, though, nothing new was learned, and he didn't go anywhere unusual. The next morning, Monday, February 12th, we all board the small train, and we head out towards the village of Orient. The small town is off the beaten trail, and we need to take a small train and then walk several miles just to get there. To our amusement, the train is crowded and everyone gets a seat except Eldridge, who has an experience trying to shoo a black chicken out of his seat. Eventually, he shoos it away and is able to sit down. We eventually make it to the small town where we are greeted by the mayor, Mr. Todorovic, who brings us to the town meeting hall. Since the town doesn't get many visitors, we are the talk of the town. They're friendly and hospitable and are kind enough to feed us and offer us lodging. We have to split up, though, so we have Eldridge and Dr. Keith and Rupert stay with the mayor, since he doesn't speak English, while Frank and Dr. Dawkins stay with the priest at his house because the priest speaks a little bit of English. And that brings us up to date.
Okay. You did okay on most of the names.
Yeah.
The Vladimir. Yeah. All right. Now, when you first arrived in town, they gave you there's sort of a customary greeting. Whenever there's a visitor, they always give you a little something to eat, usually a sweet, and it's a form of greeting. So you haven't really eaten. Now you guys are split between two households: the priest's house and the mayor's house, and it's about 4:00 in the afternoon. And in both cases, they inform you that they're having their meal early tonight. So I'll leave at the moment. I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to do the priest's house first, or do you want to do the mayor's house first?
Well, I would say the priest. I mean, that's who we came to. That's who we came to see. So,
okay.
We can get right down to it.
That'll probably be best, because when we do the mayor's house, that's just going to be me.
Now playing 3 different roles.
Yeah, having to play.
You can get into a big giant conversation with yourself. And,
oh, don't worry, I will.
All right. Father Vladimir's house is a rather modest house. However, when you go inside, and his wife is named Anna, She's a very lovely woman. She looks for her, well, you don't really know what her age is, but Father Vladim looks like he's probably in his early 60s. Anna looks like she may be in her 40s because she's got very good complexion. But then priests' wives probably don't. They just do household work. There's probably nothing hard labor. She's a very gracious woman, very courteous, very concerned with making you feel comfortable in her home. She doesn't speak any English, maybe a couple of words, barely. But Father Vladim actually speaks fluent English. He went to university. Now, their house is neat and clean, and kind of the furniture that they've got is kind of ostentatious, a little bit too fancy. And your guess is that, like many people, she probably keeps the furniture covered until guests show up, because it looks like it's never seen dust or dirt or anything on it ever. But it's probably very formal, like probably almost like French. I don't know if provincial is the right word. Fancy. It's fancy. So Father Vladim is, you have traveled a long way. I'm curious. You're looking through the history of our town, yes? His wife is busy preparing the meal.
Yes, that's correct. I guess nobody else is speaking up. I imagine, well, he's speaking decent English, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I went to university. I went to university with my the hell's his name? Todorovich. Professor Todorovich.
What was your field of study?
Well, mostly history and stuff like that, but the theology, and
Theology.
eventually I became a priest. My wife, see, I'm actually a city boy. I come from Belgrade. My wife, she comes from it's going to be a hard one to pronounce, Arendjelovac, which is about 4 miles from here. So after I became a priest, she found out that there was a posting here in Oroshac, and so she thought it would be a good idea for us to move here. She would be close to her family, who lives in Arendjelovac. And so that is why we live here. And I've been the priest for many years now. Many years.
Yeah, I hesitated on the history because that's not really my focus, but that's more, I believe, Dr. Dawkins, Dr. Keith's end of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know only a little bit of history. I'm not a professor or I didn't study wide history or anything like that. I know a bit. I'm more into the sciences, the biological sciences. But Dr. Keith, on the other hand, she's who you want to talk to when you want to know about deep history.
I see.
Can I clarify something, Tom?
Of course.
Regarding the setting, you're describing it as kind of like fancy and all. Would it be fancy as in he has a lot of money, or?
No, a priest wouldn't have a lot of money. He probably gets a stipend from the church. But it's probably more like his wife likes nice things, and nice things are for guests. You know, if he walked into the living room and tried to sit down in one of the chairs, she'd probably be like, "Don't you sit in that chair? That's for guests." You know, that sort of thing.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So a little pretentious and
Right.
old-fashioned. Don't eat those. Don't eat those canapes. Those are for guests.
Don't use the
like
little
your
small
canapes.
the little small soaps in the guest bathroom.
Yeah, those are not for me. They are for you. And Father Filipovich, Father Vladim, he comes across to us a very nice, very friendly, very jovial man. He almost glows when his wife walks in the room because he loves her very much. And his wife is very, as I say, she's very hospitable. She doesn't understand what you're saying and she doesn't speak your language, but she makes sure that you have food and you have whatever you need. You probably have some Redick, which is that alcoholic beverage they like to drink in this area. And if she doesn't have something to do, she sits quietly and smiles and nods and pretends like she understands what you're saying. Why don't one of you do, let's say, a spot hidden? Frank, you go ahead and do a spot hidden.
45 out of 65 pass.
Okay. You notice on the mantle near the fireplace over to the side, there are family pictures. And there's quite a few family pictures. You notice that there's one there. It's their wedding picture. And they're standing there with a number of family or guests or whatever. And Father Vladim notices you looking at that, and he says, "Oh yes, that was my wedding day." And he pulls the picture down and he shows you, this is my cousin and this is theirs, and this is Father. This is my friend. What the hell is his name? Torodovich. I can remember his last name. And you can see, of course, in that picture, he looks like he was probably in his maybe late 20s, and maybe not that late, maybe in his early 20s. And Torodovich, you can recognize him, but he's also in his 20s, and his wife looks very young, and so do you have any questions?
Milovan? That's Doris's first name.
Oh, was it Milo?
I've written down.
I'll ask him, how long have you been in this particular area?
Milovan, yeah, you're correct. About 20 more years. 20 or more years. It's been the years seem to fly by as you get older, yes?
I can agree with that. So what can you tell us about this particular town, historically speaking?
Well, he, of course, doesn't know what you already know, so he tells you most of the same thing. There's a great deal of, you're in a kind of a remote town. Mm-hmm. There's evidence all around of the Roman and the Byzantine occupation at one time or another. Those eras came and went, but occasionally, pieces of antiquity show up, and he says, "I've got a nice little sort of side the business going on where I deal with Milovan, and with pieces that are found in the area. Some of them in imperfect condition because they've never. This area has never been, excavated. As you say.
So, where do you find these pieces?
Oh well, most of them come from, the deeper in the forest. Grandmother lives out there. She has been collecting. I'm sorry, I dropped my pen. She has been collecting for, oh my God, for many years, and she makes a good living supplying the museum with artifacts that she has found out in the woods.
You said some of these artifacts were from the Roman era?
Yes, Roman and Byzantine, yes. Well, some people say the Roman and the Byzantine is the same thing, but you can say the pagan Roman era, the Christian Roman era, the Byzantine era.
Mm.
And I don't know where she finds them, but she finds them out in the woods. She's quite a ways into the woods, and she's getting kind of old. She must be maybe nearly 80, but she's sharp as a whip. Yes, she is.
Wow, that's impressive.
Why do you have interest in the sculpture and antiquities?
We do, and I would imagine that we brought the satchel with the arm piece with us. We're interested in, before I even start, I sort of look to the rest of us, and sort of nod to them, like, should we get on with this now?
The only person here is Frank.
Okay, well, I'll look to Frank and give him that look, like, should we get on with this, or should we wait until a bit later, maybe wait until the rest of our party
now
comes
while you're in this conversation, I just want to mention also that occasionally Father Vladim will turn to his wife and explain to her in Serbian, and then she'll give you a big smile. Like this. Or there's occasionally she'll say something, and he turns to her and she says, "My wife, she suggested if you are interested in such things, you should go visit Grandma. Grandmother is very wise. In fact, the grandmother is one of the reasons why my wife wanted to move back into this area, because grandmother was a friend. She's not actually my grandmother. She's grandmother. She's that's what we call her. She's a family friend of my wife's family in Arandjelovac. I'm sorry to all the Serbos and Serbians who are saying he's getting it wrong. Please make your comments and write them to me. And
okay. So yeah, I turn to Frank. Should we wait for the others, or should we?
Well, it's about 4:30, getting on 5, and he says to you, the reason why we were having an early dinner is because the Chigani, I think in your language, in English you say gypsies, they have a kind of ceremony they do, and normally I don't approve of this sort of thing. And his wife suddenly starts yapping at him in Serbian, and he's like,
"What is her mannerisms? Does she look like she's upset? Does she look like she's trying to hush him?"
Yeah, well, she doesn't look like she's trying to hush him. She looks like she's suddenly a little pissed. But when she notices you looking at her, she turns back to smiling, and he sort of, his reaction is like, yes. This, and he says to you, my wife is not fond of the gypsies. She says they are untrustworthy and heathens. And to be perfectly honest, I would agree with this. However, I am far more tolerant. I think that we should all get along together. We should love one another. I am a Christian priest. My whole life is everyone should love everyone. And so I am a bit more tolerant than my wife is towards the Chigani. And as soon as she hears that Chigani word, which is the gypsies, she like, you know, she doesn't like the gypsies.
Well, what type of ceremony is this?
It is some old tradition they do. You're welcome to come with us. She won't come. I don't think she will come, but I kind of have to because, you know, as far as the town is concerned, the mayor and me, we are in charge of the whole town. So it would be disrespectful if I didn't show up. I won't take part in it because I'm a Christian and I am not allowed according to the church, but I will observe.
I mean, now what happens in these type of ceremonies?
Well, we'll be going very soon. You'll see it's difficult to explain.
That actually leads into a question I was going to ask you. Before we came here, we did just a little bit of research about the town. And apparently we learned that it does have the pagan background going all the way back to the Byzantine area.
Well, everything in the world has a pagan background, if you go back far enough.
Do you find are the locals still into the pagan aspect? Like, is that why this ceremony is important tonight, or?
I would say it is more a tradition than anything else. My village, most of the people are Orthodox. They go to church. They do things. They are devout Christians. I have urged them in many times in the past that they don't need this silly pagan religion, this pagan tradition any longer. God will provide for us. But, you know, they believe that if they've done this for thousands of years, that the rain will come and the crops will grow. And it's, in my opinion, not to be disrespectful towards him, but it's nonsense. I'm an educated man. The crops will grow if you water them. The plants will grow. If we have a bad winter, then we will have difficulty with our crops. If we have a good winter, then we will have a good crop that year. But they think that marching a little girl around and spreading mud on her is going to somehow magically make the rain come and the plants grow. It's nonsense. But it's harmless.
Can I roll an occult to see if that sort of ceremony sparks something in my mind?
You may roll an occult roll, and you may roll a Cthulhu Mythos roll if you want.
Sure. This is for the occult roll. I got a 30 out of 68, so that's a hard. And this is for the Cthulhu Mythos, which is an L. I got a 56 out of an 11. So.
For cults, what it just seems obvious that it is a primitive fertility ritual. He said young girl. That's always part of it. There's always a young girl. There's some sort of, some sort of ceremony that she does to sort of usher in the springtime. And it's very common in a lot of places in the world. So you kind of expect to see something like that, whatever it is.
Okay.
You doubt seriously if these are all Christians, if there'd be anything sexual involved, because that would also be some aspect of it. But in this case, that's probably gone the way of the dodo. That doesn't happen anymore. But
so, in other words, it's an Easter egg hunt.
Good example. Yeah. Yeah, it's that's what it seems like it's going to be.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
To get back to your original question, Wayne, yeah, I feel like since we kind of like just got here, maybe we should wait till Dr. Keith
Okay.
is with us.
So, shall we jump to the other three people? All right. So, Dr. Elizabeth, you and Rupert and Eldridge are in a house filled with people. And there are children, and all of the children want your attention, and all of the adults want your attention. They all want to talk to you. They all want to ask you questions. None of them really speak any English. Todor speaks a couple of words. It all has to sort of go through Eldridge.
I bet he's over the moon about that.
And yeah. And all right, so it's kind of now Todornetic's house is quite a bit different. It's a large house. It's a very large house. He, being the mayor, probably is the wealthiest man in the town, and that's relative. I mean, he's not the Tsar, but he's got some stuff. So his house is kind of filled with an array of all sorts of things. He's got, in some of the rooms, there are Persian rugs on the floor. There are family portraits everywhere, pictures, photos, everything, all over the place. There are knickknacks and cabinets with things in them, and there are books, and it just goes on and on. You could literally sit in one room of the house and take hours going, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that, as you went around. It's cluttered. The coffee table, it's got stuff all over it, and he's got a samovar for the coffee. And likewise, his family is also very hospitable. The women make sure that you have food. He also mentions that evening they have this ritual that they're going to go attend. That's part of their tradition, and you're welcome to come with them. It's kind of a thing that the gypsies do to make it rain and to make the crops grow. And he gives you the whole story of that.
Sounds fascinating.
Now, Dr. Elizabeth, I would like you to do a spot hidden roll as your
Okie dokie. I got a 9. Blimey.
Excellent.
What is my spot hidden? My spot hidden is 45.
Now, one of the things that you notice is there are these little clay figurines. And like in the windowsills, it's just part of an overall collection of things. But something strikes you about these little figurines as not odd, but intriguing. They're little figurines obviously of people, but they're kind of crude. But they look like they're really old. Maybe Byzantine, maybe Roman, akin to what children would play with, like dolls or something. But they're clay. They're made out of clay.
Can I have a closer look at them?
Oh, of course. Sometimes. Well, this is all going through Eldridge. Of course, sometimes, when we are plowing the field or, removing tree stumps and things like that, we find these things. We find them. We find coins from the Roman Empire, and it's just they're all over the place. I've actually managed to sell a few of them to Father Father Vladim's friend, some of the better specimens. These are not anything special, but they are very interesting. Yes.
Yes, they're very interesting indeed. I'll show them to Rupert and Eldritch as well.
And they're interesting. They're kind of, and as you're looking around and noticing all sorts of little treasures like this, there's one thing that you see that stands out. It's different. You can see that, okay, from the Roman period, yeah, these little things that they're finding. But what is that? And as you look, it's a very strange little whistle or a flute, or it's not shaped like that. It's shaped just like this.
Oh, like an ocarina.
Yeah. Only it's very definitely, you're not sure. It's definitely made out of clay, and but it looks pre-Roman, maybe, very, very old. Todor notices you looking at that, and he says, "Oh, the children like that thing. They like to play with it. It, quite honestly, kind of drives us a little crazy sometimes. They won't stop blowing the damn thing."
Where did you find it?
You know, I don't quite know. One of the kids probably found it out in the woods or somewhere, something like that. But we've had it for quite a while. You'll find it interesting, yes?
It's very unusual. It's a very odd shape, isn't it? I've never seen one like that before.
It's very interesting little piece. Now, he suddenly sort of looks at some of the members of his family, especially the kids, and he goes, "Do you want to keep it? Do you want to take it with you, please?"
Well, I'd be delighted to. Thank you very much.
"Yes, please take it with you." Now, as soon as that happens, you notice one of the little girls suddenly starts to cry. And when she does, her mother, one of the sisters of the cousins of the whatever, starts to sort of quiet her down. And she looks at you with a look in her eyes like, "Oh God, please take that damn thing."
Okay, well, I'll just sort of turn around and look at the other things on the windowsill, and as I do so, I'll just slip it quietly into my pocket without making a big deal about it.
Okay.
And hope that the children forget about it.
No. All right.
While Rupert wends his way around the children, dispensing humbugs.
Along with Eldritch. He's translating the humbugs.
Yes. Tell them what it is.
All right, let's see. What else would you like to talk to him about?
Well, I'm interested in knowing a little bit more about this festival you're having, this Roma festival.
Oh, it is something that the gypsies do. They do it once a year. It usually, I'm not exactly sure how they calculate when it is done, but it always occurs in the winter, somewhere, after the new year. It seems to be coming a little late this year, but this is the time they said that they must do it according to their whatever there.
And this is to bring on fertility for the coming year, then.
Yes, it's one of those old rituals that has sort of pervaded over the years. It's nonsense and it's silly. But people like to dress up, and people like to. They like the music and they like the dancing, and you're welcome to come. It is very, Very simple. You don't have to. I mean, you don't really. It goes on like all night, but at least until they're finished. But we have actually invited them. We have invited old Lumanitsa. She's the. I don't know how you would say it. She is like the wise woman of the gypsies.
Oh yes.
She's like 71 years old. We've invited her and her extended family to come here and begin the ritual. So it will be beginning here in this house. And it is, kind of a blessing. Father Filipovich will be here, but he doesn't exactly approve. And, oh my God, his wife. She thinks
Eldridge starts looking a bit worried and says that there aren't any chickens involved in this ritual, are there?
Oh, you want to meet the chickens? We have lots of chickens.
No, I was just wondering if they were they don't bring any chickens for the ritual, do they?
No, there's no chickens involved in the ritual.
That's... Are you still going on about those chickens? Says.
Why? Do you have problems with chickens?
Oh, he had problems with one chicken.
Oh, you must tell me the story. Perhaps tonight after this ritual, we will sit up and have some good strong coffee and maybe a little rakia, and we will talk into the night.
I'm not sure how possible that's going to be, given that they're going to try to recount a relatively embarrassing story about Eldridge via Eldridge, who's translating it. I'm not sure how accurate the translation would be in that situation.
One of the little girls, Maria.
I haven't seen it. I don't know where it is.
Because you've got all these kids, all these people here. One of these younger girls, not the littlest ones, but okay. One of the girls, she says something to her father in Serbian, and Eldridge just relates it to you. He says she's saying something about Marco, the head of the. He's the head of the gypsies, and now they're sort of going back and forth, and he says that he was out in a field yelling at grandmother, and that grandmother was laughing at him, and she called him a stupid heathen and walked away, or some sort of argument like that. It doesn't make sense. It's coming from a child's point of view. And Eldridge, I think that Eldridge would say, "Who is grandmother?" And Todor says, "Oh, grandmother, she's an old woman. She lives out in the woods. She supplies different pieces of artifacts that she finds to Father Filipovich, who in turn supplies them to his friend in Belgrade, the professor there at the the museum."
These are more artifacts that they find on the land.
Well, yes, this area out here, this has never been explored really. I mean, it's mostly woods, but when they cut the roads through. In the last 50 years or so, grandmother lives way out there in the woods. I don't know why she wants to live so far out there. We Serbians have a kind of an understanding with the woods. There are wolves, there are bears. If we can keep from doing it, we don't go out into the woods. But she lives in a cottage a few miles into the woods, and I guess just like us, when she plows her fields and when she She does things. She finds artifacts, and some of them have been in extremely good condition, and she has sent them to Father Filipovich.
See, and does anyone know what was here?
I would say the Romans and the Byzantines, and the people even older than that, have been, pre-Roman times.
Have there been any traces of buildings or
Yes.
circles? No?
Yes, sure. Yeah, it's all out there. Some of it is now completely overgrown by the woods, but it's out there. It's something that we live with. It's just like you say, you'll find these things.
Do you think possibly that we might be able to find someone who could take us to show these things? I hate to be a burden. It's just I'm a historian. I'm very interested in things like this. It sounds extremely interesting. If no one studied it before.
I suppose the person who would know where they are the best would be grandmother. Yeah, I mean, I can draw you a direction. There's not really a set road, but you really can't miss it as long as you stay in the clear parts of the forest and you go in that direction. Let me draw you a map.
Thank you. It's very kind of you.
Gets a piece of paper and a ballpoint pen, an anachronism pen, and he draws you a map of how to get to grandmother's. Anyways, he draws this for you and he gives it to you. Do you have any questions, or we can go to the ritual?
I think we'll head to the ritual, shall we?
All right. So what we'll do is we'll jump over to the others at the priest's house. An interesting thing sort of occurs. The priest, he's usually dressed the priest doesn't dress in clothes like this. He dresses in robes. They're black. He has a formal little hat on his head. Actually, he would look just like my brother. Where's a picture of my brother? Oh, Father James, where are you? That's not important. Anyways, I'll show you later. He wears a little hat like this on his head, kind of shaped like a fez, but it's black, has a little cross on it. And he dresses in black robes that have, sleeves down here, and they go to the ground. His wife is livid that he's even going to this. She says that she's going to go into the church and she's just going to stay there and pray for him. And he's like, you're very intolerant. You don't really, you have to be compromising. He's having an argument with her. I'm not compromising my faith. I am simply being respectful to people who are not like us. And she's like, you're going to go to hell if you do this. So, anyways, Father Vladim takes you with him, and you head over to Todor Nedek's house, because that's where it's going to start. And you rejoin your friends. So let me describe this for you. You're standing outside. It's chilly. There's snow on the ground. Not a lot of it, but there's snow. The air is chilly. People start coming from all over the place and start gathering. They have torches. You notice the many of the women in the town are dressed in very elaborate embroidered skirts and gowns, mostly black, but with very colorful flowers and birds and things all over them, and little headdresses on their heads. The men are also dressed very formally in those who don't have fancy looking vests and things have suits, and they're just in what they have. You can hear music coming, and the Chigani, the gypsies come. They're also dressed in very fancy clothes, very colorful, and you guess that this old woman coming with them is probably Lumanitsa, the wise woman. She comes being escorted by an older gentleman who looks like he's maybe in his 60s, but he's probably this Marco, the leader of the gypsies. They come forward, and with all of Lumanitsa's family, and they choose from Lumanitsa's family the youngest girl, who looks like she's maybe 10. You know, they sing some songs, and they say some words, and then the little girl goes with Todor Nedik and his wife, whose name was Ilya. They go inside the house for a few seconds. When she comes back out again, the little girl is dressed in a very elaborately embroidered skirt, and she has a kind of cape that she's wearing that's covered in leaves. It's all covered in leaves. And the little girl has completely changed color because they have taken mud and smeared it all over her face and her arms and her hands. So she's covered in mud. They say some prayers in front of the house, or whatever they're saying, and Ilya, Todor's wife, takes a ladle and a thing that she's holding in her hand, and she dips it in. It looks like just water. She dips it in. She pours it over the little girl's head. So the little girl is suddenly soaking wet. Todor then hands her a gift, and the little girl starts dancing and singing, and she goes to the next house. And at each house, the same thing happens. The little girl goes into the house, she comes back out of the house, and the head of the house, the mom of the house, pours water over the little girl. And then the man of the house hands her a little gift of some sort. She then dances and sings and goes to the next house. And this goes on and on and on all night long until every house in the village has been hit. Now, while this is happening, you guys we'll assume that is what's going on. It's in the process of happening. If you have any comments, questions, observations, you can do spot hiddens if you want and see if you notice anything.
I'll do a spot hidden to see if I notice anything. I will also, because it's still winter, and
Yes.
I'm pouring water on her, so I'm going to stick around to make sure that regardless of this festival or ritual or whatever, making sure that she doesn't show any signs of hypothermia.
Okay.
But yeah, here is my roll, and I got an 82, so I don't see anything. I'm more concerned about the little girl's health.
Okay.
Is it the same? Is it definitely the same little girl?
Yes. She's a very pretty little girl.
Does she seem like she's showing any signs of hypothermia? Like she's uncomfortable?
Oh, she's chittering a little, but she's dancing to keep warm. Probably happens to all the little girls when they come of age or whatever. Do you show any concern? There are people standing all around you.
Yeah. I'm showing concern, of course.
Well, one of the people standing there who you don't know, but he speaks a little English. He just sort of says to you, he says, "No, don't worry. It's okay. They will bathe her and warm her up and give her cookies and stuff like that when it's over."
All right. Well, I'm still keeping an eye out, but yeah, sure.
Okay. Anything else?
How are you guys taking this whole thing? Because, well, I'm not going to say this out loud, so.
You did say you did an occult roll. This is not unexpected. This is kind of what you'd expect.
Okay.
From this fertility ritual. There's always some aspect of suffering,
Oh yeah.
Involved. Make the little girl suffer. Yeah.
I'm not really concerned. It kind of reminds me of Halloween.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Well, okay. I'm giving you this look, though. I'm giving everybody this look, and we'll talk when we have, if we get a chance to have a private moment.
Well, they can't understand us anyway.
That's true.
Don't you remember when you were a kid for Halloween? It was freezing out there, but if your costume was thin and warranted, you braved the elements and you went out there and trick or treated.
Of course, they didn't usually pour ladles of water over your head.
That's true.
Dr. Elizabeth, go ahead and do a roll. I'm spot hidden, sorry.
68, which is a fail.
Okay. Frank, go ahead and do a spot hidden roll.
Yep, regular pass.
Okay.
45.
For the most part, everybody involved in this seems to be in good spirits. It's like Christmas time. It's like, it's got that sort of feel to it. But you notice one young woman, she looks like she's maybe in her mid-20s. She doesn't look impressed and she doesn't look happy. And the people around her seem to be used to that. She's like the sad girl, and everybody's sort of, yeah, she's the sad girl, big shit, big deal.
Sorry, this was the same girl who's getting the water poured on, or a different girl?
No, this is an old. This is somebody who's like maybe 28 years old. The little girl's only like 10.
Okay.
And she's following along, but she's kind of just not in the same mood that everybody else is.
She's the Debbie Downer.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for with Debbie Downer. She's going to freeze to death. Wah, wah. Thousands of little girls die every day. Wah, wah.
I have a question, but it might be metagaming, so if you tell me to stop, I will. I was just curious, with grandmother being there and with Marco being there, can I see how they're reacting to one another?
Oh, well,
I mean, technically I wasn't there to hear that they were arguing and fighting, but I'm curious if they were.
No, you've gotten confused. Luminitsa is the wise woman of the gypsies. Mark is the head, the leader of the gypsies. Marco is extremely respectful towards the old woman. Grandmother is somebody else. Grandmother is the woman who lives out in the woods, and she was seen fighting with Marco.
Oh, okay.
Calling him a heathen. She's obviously not a gypsy.
Luminista and grandmother were the same person, but they're different.
No.
Okay.
If you ask something like, maybe you're confused, maybe you ask somebody, you're told, oh, no, grandmother hasn't come to Orshich for many, many years.
Oh, okay.
She stays out there in the woods.
Does she live alone?
I believe she has probably a helper. You know, a young, probably a granddaughter or a great-granddaughter or something who lives out there with her and helps her. Although, like I say, she's probably in her 80s, and she's as spry as, she's not old. She doesn't act old at all. She, if you're going to go see her and discuss statuary and pieces of antiquity with her, you better have your bargain shoes on, because she's going to bargain the hell out of you. That's how she makes money. Well, she wouldn't deceive you, but she would definitely, she'll bargain with you. You know, she's going to get the best price she can get out of it. All right, so as the ritual draws to a close, the little girl is at the very end. She comes back to Toternetic's house at the end, and they take her inside, and her family is, of course, doing this, the little girl's family. But they take her in, they bathe her, they wash all the mud off, and they then present her with very fancy food, fancy, cakes and sweets and stuff like that. And of course, she gets to keep all the little gifts that she got from everybody. And that's pretty much the end of the ritual. So just one of those sort of things that takes place. And then that family goes home. Everybody goes home. And of course, you haven't seen the priest's wife. As far as you know, she's locked herself in the church, and she's saying her prayers to keep anybody from the devil from getting to her because of these pagans, what the pagans are doing. So you return to your respective. I'm going to give you guys a chance. Towards the end of this, you're discussing with one another before you guys go to bed, because you got to go to different houses. If you want.
Well, I'll recount the details of what occurred when I was talking to the mayor, and what he told me about grandmother, or what we found out about grandmother. I'll show them the map as well. That and mention, that there's apparently there are. Not only do they find artifacts out there, but apparently there are buildings, there are remains. There's a whole treasure trove of stuff out there. These people are routinely finding antiquarian bits and pieces in the fields. So this could prove to be a very interesting lead.
This is right up your alley.
Well, I think this might lead us to even something related to what we're looking for.
Are we going to come right out and tell her and show her what's going on, or are we going to dance around the issue?
Well, I mean, perhaps we should begin by simply asking her what she has, and see what she offers us, and then question her from there, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is it safe to assume then that the priest's house, because his wife was not participating that pretty much everyone in the village, the little girl went to the house and had the water poured on her, went to every house except the priest's house?
Exactly. Yes. That's
Yeah.
Yes. If you were to have understood what Judith said, she says, I don't want them coming in my house. No way. They're not coming in the church. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
And the priest, of course, yes, we can't do that, but don't worry, I'm not going to let her the Chigani into the house.
She's gonna get mud all over the carpet and the
My
fancy
God.
furniture.
You know, I said the priest might have even commented, he says, you know, when I was a younger man, I was kind of skeptical about moving out into the middle of the rural, God-forsaken, I shouldn't say that, the outskirts of civilization, but my wife convinced me that we should come here. Now that we are here, I think that I have gotten along very well with these people. They all love me. I love them. But my wife, she's like, they're all a bunch of hicks. So what can I do? Fortunately, she does what I tell her to do.
Is it important, the things that they were giving the little girl? I was curious if it was the same artifacts
No.
that you mentioned.
They were little, no, they were modern. They were little toys and little gifty gift things. Things that a little 10-year-old girl would like.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens after this ritual? Like everybody just goes home and everything goes back to normal the next day? How does that work?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the gypsies probably go back to their gypsy town, their gypsy village. You find out that the gypsies actually live a couple of miles away. They, being gypsies, of course, originally they kind of moved around a lot, but they've got kind of now a semi-permanent place, mainly because the priest, Father Filipovich, has said, let them stay. You know, they wander all the time. Don't make them keep moving. Just let them stay. You know, he seems very reasonable. So, although the location of their gypsy camp has moved bits and pieces over the years, it's still more or less semi-permanent. If that makes any sense. So to answer your question, I'm sure that some of the people went back to the gypsy village and they're drinking and they're you know, having a bit of a party through the evening, and maybe some other people went to the local tavern and they're doing the same thing. And when you go back to Nedek's house, he is not tired. We shall stay up and we shall drink and we shall discuss things and talk of many. Tell me of your homeworld, Usul. I mean, tell me of your early life. Where did you go to university and stuff like that. I myself did not go to university. At the priest's house, after he manages to get his wife to come back inside, she's once again just very, very sweet. However, for people at the priest's house, do a psychology roll.
No, I got a 92 out of 10.
And I got a 90.
Well, trying to decide if this is really kind of obvious. I guess you've gotten used to Anna's way of acting. They act very gracious. Your guest in the house. They would never want to deal any kind of inhospitality towards you. However, you can see that she doesn't approve that you went to that ritual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's a little iciness there. You know, she's mad at her husband too for doing it.
Well, we are here to observe.
Yeah.
You know, this town. So.
Yeah, I think the scientific aspect of it, she doesn't care. We're talking spiritual aspect. You went and converted with those damn gypsies. So she's not very happy about that. Anyways, so are you all going to sleep?
Well, yeah. Well, I thought we were going to at least talk to. Well, he said that he wanted to stay up for a bit, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll stay up.
Well, that's Toter over at their house. You're at the priest's house.
Oh well, then yeah, sure. We'll go to bed.
Okay. Dr. Elizabeth, you probably, I don't know if you want to sit up with Toter and talk.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Okay.
I think it's all getting a bit
Rupert and Eldridge probably.
cloyingly masculine for my taste.
Yeah, Rupert and Eldridge probably sit up for a couple of hours with Toter and chit chat.
Yes.
You go to bed.
Into their drinking.
Frank and Dr. Dawkins end up going to sleep. I would like both Frank and Dr. Dawkins to do a listen roll.
An 11. Yay. 11 out of 40.
Fail.
Okay. Frank, you sleep soundly. Dr. Dawkins, somewhere in the middle of the night, you are awakened. You don't know if you were partially awake already or not, but you hear something, and it's off in the distance, maybe downstairs in the house. But it sounds like some people talking, like maybe some women talking.
I'm gonna.
You can't. It's way on the edge, but you can hear somebody in the house talking.
Can I at least try to see if I can listen a little bit? Maybe get up a bit and go to the door and I'll press my ear up against the door to see if I can hear them a bit better.
You press your ear up against the door, and you don't really hear it any better. It sounds like it's coming from the other side of the house. No. But there's definitely voices.
Do these voices sound like, are these the women of the house, or is it?
You can't tell. As far as you know, the only people in this house are you guys and Father Vladim and Anna. They don't have children.
I will open the door and try to sort of creep towards the sounds of the voices.
Okay, do a stealth roll.
I knew it. And I get a 77 out of a 20. So, no.
Creep.
All right. So you manage to get out your door, and you've got to kind of go down the hall, and there's stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And you manage to get almost to the stairs. And at this point, you can tell there are 3 distinct voices. You're guessing they're coming from maybe the kitchen, but you can't understand a word of what they're saying.
Okay.
And as you hit the top of the stairs, they creak. And the second they creak, the sound stops.
Do they have an outhouse, or I would imagine they would probably have like an outhouse or something.
No, they have indoor plumbing.
Yeah, they have plumbing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make my way to the privy and
Okay.
and use it basically as if I'm getting up in the middle of the night to use it.
Okay. And you use it, and do you want to do anything else?
I will use it, head back to my room, and then close the door, but stay on the outside.
Okay.
To see if they start talking again.
You don't hear any noise. After maybe 5 minutes or so, you do hear some noises coming from downstairs, like a door opening and closing. Not like the front door, but like an internal door. And you hear footsteps heading towards the stairs. And you can see that there is lantern light, or not lantern, but what are those? Is that called a lantern? The kerosene lamp.
Yeah.
You can see kerosene lamp light coming from downstairs, and you can hear somebody now coming up the stairs. And a second later, you see Anna, and she's got, in one hand, she's got the lantern, and in the other hand, she's got a cup of tea. And as she hits the top of the landing and she sees you, she's like, "Oh,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. Actually, I was going to, see if I could bother. Well, everybody else is asleep. I was just going to go down for a glass of water."
She doesn't understand a word you're saying.
Oh, well, I would, gesture more or less like, I was going.
As soon as you sort of gesture that you want somebody to drink, she's like this. And she takes you downstairs into the kitchen and gets you whatever you need. She points to the tea kettle, like, "Do you want tea?"
Sure. I'm English.
She makes you tea. And she even sits at the table with you, and she smiles.
I am very bad at this, but can I do a psychology roll?
Sure.
Nope. I'll smile back at her. I'm getting this really, I'm really uncomfortable right now. I'm getting this bad feeling about this place.
Okay.
But I'll smile along, and I'll say thank you. Thank you for the tea.
There's probably a moment when you're smiling at her and she's smiling at you that she just suddenly gets up and she goes over and she brings a couple of cookies on a plate and puts them in front of you.
Don't mind if I do. I feel like I'm being fattened up for some sort of sacrifice.
I was just gonna say, I realized when I did it, she's like looking at you going, no, it's not like that. She wants to make sure you have whatever you need.
Okay. And then, after a bit, because she can't understand what I'm saying. So
you're getting along pretty well with gestures.
So then I'll head back to bed.
All right. And she...
Now, while I'm down there, do I see anything that's out of place? Like when she goes to get the cookies or whatever, do I see anything that's out of place or anything that wasn't there?
Go ahead and do a spot hidden.
And that is a 12. Yes.
Okay. The answer is no. You don't see anything out of place.
Why couldn't I get this 12 with the psych? Well, I still wouldn't have got it.
There's a black chicken standing there staring at you. Sorry.
All right. Well, then I'll thank her for it, even though she can't understand me, and I'll head back to bed.
Okay. And when you can hear that as you leave the kitchen, she puts things away, and then as you hit the top of the stairs, she comes out of the kitchen and she's heading up the stairs as well.
Okay. Now we'll go back to sleep.
All right. So you sleep until morning. And
do I wake up in the morning?
Yes, you
do. Or
do
I have? Okay.
No, you've been poisoned. Yeah. No. You wake up just fine.
You wake up in her bed.
Oh no, that would not do.
Now, I'm going to jump back to Neddick's house really quick. Before you go to bed, Dr. Elizabeth, before you make the decision that the masculinity is just getting a little bit too much in this, the little girl who, not the one who cried, but the one who had been talking to her father, Maria, she comes up to you and she sort of tries to whisper something in your ear. And of course, you don't understand a word of what she's saying. But Eldridge leans over and he says, she says that the whistle, the ocarina, is good luck. It chases evil spirits away.
Oh, I see.
And that's about the extent of it.
Well, I'll give her a nice friendly smile.
Okay. And then you go to bed and nothing else happens that night. So the next morning comes. Both of you, or all of you, wherever you are respectively, you are given a sumptuous breakfast. Fresh eggs from the black chicken outside, bacon, everything else that's, very nice breakfast. Of course, it's a little different because at the priest's house, everything is laid out. It's formal. Anna brings the food. She seen her little myth about you guys going to the ritual last night seems to have vanished. She's just as cordial and friendly as she was before. It's in the past. She serves it all to you. Everything is laid out. The silverware, everything is perfect. At Neddick's house, it's more like pandemonium. You've got probably 23 or 24 other people at the table with piles of food, and everybody's going at it at the same time. I want pancakes, I want bacon, I want eggs, and it's kind of funny, kind of it's chaos. It's more chaos there.
Well, I don't know how Eldritch is dealing with it, but Rupert went to a British public school and then in the army, and I went to a girls' school. So between us, we're both perfectly used to this kind of thing. And I've been an academic for years. You should see what some of those refectories are like. Honestly, I've seen animals with better table manners than some professors.
So, you have a sumptuous breakfast. Do you want to do anything during the breakfast? Any questions? Is your intention to go find grandmother?
Well, yes, via Eldridge. I'll just sort of try and strike up conversation with. Oh yeah. With the people nearest to me at the table.
Okay.
And just gently attempt to steer the conversation around to the topic of the woods and the things that have been found in the woods, and then the old lady who lives in the aforementioned woods.
Okay. Well, as I say, it's a common superstition, especially in rural areas living next to woods. Woods can be dangerous. Woods can be, there's wild animals out there. Children should not play in the woods because they'll get lost. They tell you the story of one a few years ago, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, um, about a little girl who disappeared, and their best guess is that she wandered out into the woods. She was probably 12, and something probably got her. Probably a bear. There's brown bear. There's wolves. She had a twin sister, and they pretty much tell you that uh, the sad girl that you saw in the village was her twin sister, and she's never gotten over the fact that her sister is gone. So they have a kind of love-hate relationship with the woods. They clear cut the area, they put their farms in, but then they don't really go into the woods if they can help it, except to chop wood, and they're not going to go very far to do that. Why grandmother would live so far into the deep woods, some of the villagers think she's nuts. Some just think that she doesn't like to be around a lot of people. She's
generally they're quite superstitious about her.
Yes.
Yeah,
but she's never done anything odd, or they used to see her occasionally in Orient, but they haven't seen her for years. She's just one of those people who likes to live on the outskirts. The village is mostly there's people living in the village, but most of the people live on farms around the village. So did that answer your questions, or
Yes.
One of the people makes the comment that the woods are just too quiet. And they explain that since nobody goes out there, nobody has paved roads through them or anything like that, all the pine needles fall, all of the debris falls on the ground, and it makes a very soft ground. And the ground that absorbs all the noise. So when you get out in the middle of the woods, it's kind of eerie that it's so quiet. Unless there's a bird or something making noise, it's kind of deadened the sound. And that unnerves them a bit.
Mm-hmm. So they won't even just even the men and the they don't go there to gather the wood for the fire, or
well, they'll go near into the woods, just at the edge, but they won't go deep into the forest.
Are there legends of anything other than
there's always legends?
And...
Yeah, there's legends of werewolves, vampires, witches, goblins. The usual thing that you'd see,
So it's just a place where everything bad lives.
Right.
Okay.
Same as if you're a sailor and there's the ocean. You just don't go that way because there's monsters there. So.
Okay.
But let me clarify that they're not so superstitious that they, if a kid went missing, that they wouldn't go into the deep woods looking for the kid. If they have a real strong need, they'll overcome their fear and go out there. But if they don't have to, they don't have to. It's not like they're afraid of the woods. Anything else?
Well, I'll leave the two men to finish their breakfast, and I'm going to hop outside making a big deal of the fact that I'm just going to go outside and sit for a while and smoke my pipe.
Okay.
But when I get out there, before I start smoking my pipe, I'd like to just take that whistle out from my pocket while no one's around,
Okay.
and have a proper look at it.
Okay. The thing that's unusual is that it has a face sort of carved into it. It's well made. Definitely shows signs of like being pre-Roman. And has a rather interesting, sort of sound when you play it. But
it doesn't have anything written on it in Latin.
No, nothing written in Latin.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Because we know what happens with that kind of whistle. So.
It's a wonder that it survived. If it was buried in the woods or buried somewhere, or you reckon that it could be thousands of years old.
Really? That's gracious. And it's so I can. I'm loath to actually blow it.
Oh, okay.
Well, no.
Kids used to blow it all the time.
Well, I'll blow it quite softly.
Okay.
Just a little peep, just a little.
Exactly what I just did. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little.
It's got holes.
Sounds like a whippoorwill.
Makes a soft little. Yeah, it does. It makes a soft little whistle. Not so loud.
Okay.
Nothing untoward happens then.
No, nothing untoward happens. Although I don't know, maybe I'm just putting this in there. Maria hears it and she comes running outside and she says something to you in Serbian, but you have no idea what it is.
Give me my bloody whistle back.
That's mine.
But what she says to you is not very long. So you know what it sort of sounds like? You might be able to repeat it later to Eldritch, and he might say, oh, that means this.
Well, I shall try as best I can to remember what she said to me.
Okay.
And by the time I recount it to Eldritch, he will say, oh, she said, your hovercraft is full of eels.
Bouncy. Actually, later on, all that Eldridge says is she said something like, blow it louder. Anyway, all right.
Well, I'll go back to actually smoking my pipe then.
Well, it's kind of early that we're going to do this. We actually started a little late today, but this is actually a good spot to stop. And you guys can do the journey to grandmother's house next week. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
All right, so we'll end it there. Our players included Mick Swan, Jeff Wilkins, Wayne Worthy, and myself as the Keeper of the Secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. Patrons of our show can now enjoy recordings of our pre- and post-game conversations. Some of the funniest and most interesting stuff occurs before and after the show. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month will help us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We love hearing from you. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club. Okay, it's a cult, it's a club. Inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.